you've had your own sort of personal battles that you've had to deal with, but talk to me about that pivotal moment when you realized that you needed to change.
Yeah, so I would say through my lifetime, I've had maybe four pivotal moments. Each one kind of helped me grow as an individual. I come from an interesting background. Between 17 and 22, I was embarrassed that I never had a felony and never went to prison. So I just grew up around some my brothers and some family members that may or may not have helped support some drug trafficking and different things for some bikers and some other interesting organizations that may not have an EIN number.
Mm.
But yeah, so for me, that was probably my first pivotal moment. And then moving forward from there was moving out to Utah when I was 22. I'll be 37 in 3 months. And so I think there's just been a few over my lifetime that have helped me navigate just a little bit more of creating the man I want to be and the man I admire rather than just being another cog in the wheel of this matrix we got going on.
Yes. And yeah, you did mention that you spent some years in and out of juvenile hall, but you didn't actually end up in prison, thank gosh. Um, but why do you think that never happened to you, especially with your upbringing and then people around you?
So yeah, as for juvenile hall, it was like some few short stays. It wasn't I was doing years in there or anything like that, just so
Yeah.
it's clear on that. But yeah, I should have been in juvenile hall a lot more. My upbringing and everything I did as an individual, I it was there it was a combination of God or higher power or whatever you believe in, and just overall not realizing how strong my intuition was, because I used to think of it as more of like I was being a pussy or something, or like being a bitch. I don't know if you cuss on your podcast, but just being a weenie or whatever you want to call it. And but in reality, it was more so my intuition guiding me, or spirit guides, or whatever you want to call it. It was something higher than me, helping lead me in the right direction and start creating self awareness and things like that to get me on the right track. So
Yeah.
I'm a man of, I've worked 28 jobs in 36 years so far, and so like I've been a man of experience. I've been a very curious mind, and so I've tried out a lot of crazy stuff over the years, and growing up in the years of Jackass and Viva La Bam and stuff like that. Here, I don't know if you see those across the states, but those
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
definitely. I'm riding
Yeah.
shopping carts off of roofs and skateboarding and all this crazy nonsense, but.
Yeah. And you've turned your life around, man, which is incredible. And, you're living with purpose. And what is it like to go from a place of chaos to, discipline and focus? How does that, how did you truly break free?
So it's not that I don't have chaos, and I think it's, for one, creating purpose. You have to believe in something, whether it's God, yourself, your family, or something. You have to believe in something to get you motivated every morning. And to say motivation, that's actually hypocritical for me, because motivation is an illusion. Motivation
Mm.
is this magical pill that doesn't exist. So it's like just learning how to be ready. And being ready isn't a feeling, it's a choice. So like just having the choice of adapting and moving forward. But getting back to chaos. So that's why I do jujitsu, and I'm getting back into MMA, and like, you as men, as humans, we need some sort of chaos. Women see it a lot. You'll see it a lot with women, with or people in general, but I just see it a lot with women, is like murder mysteries and these different
Mm.
types of things. Especially here in Utah, it's a big thing, and it seems like it's a big thing across the nation. So the difference, I think, with white collar and blue collared lifestyles, and the reason why a lot of blue collared have a better touch with danger, is because they have a better relationship with it. And me growing up blue collared, I've been working with my hands since I was 14, and moving out to Utah, I didn't want to work outside anymore because working in the snow sucks. And
Mm.
and I'm originally from California, from Santa Barbara County, a farm town out there called Lompoc. And so I moved out here when I was 22. I'm in Salt Lake County. But yeah, so like I think as human beings, a lot of us need a sense of danger. I think there's outside dogs and inside dogs, and the outside dogs are a little closer to those wolves and we need a more heightened sense of danger. So either you're doing some sort of like MMA, like Spartan races, whatever it is, bodybuilding, whatever makes you have that urge to feel like you're feeding the wolf. But if you don't have a good relationship with danger and with chaos, then I feel like that's when people start leaning onto substances or dopamine hits or whatever that is, because they're not feeding that side of things. So
Yeah.
the story of the two wolves. So you got to feed one or the other.
Yeah. Some of the hardest battles we'll ever face in life, we're going to have to endure that through pain and struggle and hardship. And throughout your whole journey, um, can you think of a time where you've had to figure out what your purpose is throughout all this pain and hardship that you've had to overcome? Can you think of a time where you had to utilize your tools that you have learnt along the way, and how did you manage to break free?
I think there's a point where you have to switch from utilizing the forged tools that you created to survive and start forging tools to learn how to survive, whether that's recalibrating, reheating, and creating Damascus steel out of the weapons that you have now, or developing more tools or new weapons for the battles and creation. I think that one of the big ones is like also knowing is as you grow, it's okay to outgrow an old life or an old version of yourself and leave that person in the past. Learn from
Mm,
your mistakes, but if you're not present in the moment, you're either living too deep in the future through anxiety or you're living in depression through the past. And so, like, to be the person that you want to be and to strive to, like, always for excellence or whatever that is, even though perfection's kind of an illusion too. It's it's making sure that we're present enough to have to be able to take the steps and be okay to let go of our old life and fully grasp the life that we want or the life that we're trying to accept, so we don't live through like survivor's guilt or have problems living past who we were. I think evolution and growth is huge, and all of us need to experience more of it.
yeah. And what would you say was the hardest battle that you've had to face?
I think the hardest battle I would have to face. So I don't know if you've ever seen what's his name? Charles Hunan's, or was it Guy Ritchie's version? I think it's Guy Ritchie's the director of Sword in the Stone. So basically,
Mm,
that version of Sword in the Stone, King Arthur, or Charlie Hunan, the actor, I think that's his last name, the guy from Sons of Anarchy. But he's fearful of taking that sword out of the stone and holding on to it because of the power, because
mm,
there's a shadow in there that he's afraid to face, which is his uncle. It's an archetype that killed his dad. Spoiler alert, but the movie's from like 2009. But yeah, so it's a combination of, for me, it was a combination of learning to live my full truth and honestly feeling like from my past and the type of person I was, being able to deserve a happy life and accepting the blessings and accepting the power that I've created for myself, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean like the power for money and things like that, just like energy and just being able to accept the blessings that you can create for yourself or you've been blessed with.
yeah. And can you describe the work that you do?
Yes. So, the work I do now is I have 26 certifications, 3 for nutrition, a bunch of fitness. I've done strength and conditioning, CrossFit level 1, level 2. Me and my coach are opening a jiu-jitsu school right now.
Wow.
I'm not a black belt, but I've been doing MMA on and off since 2005. So MMA,
Wow.
boxing, things like that have been in my past for a while. So coaching, for me, it's like developing the tools and skills that help save my life, and then I have
Mm,
to give that back to other people. So I'm a what you call a development coach. So I really dig deep into biomechanics. So, like, say if somebody's walking across the ground, you could see they have a collapsed arch in their foot, which is causing knee pain and hip pain, and all the way up the chain of command in the body. So what I do is I'll help people learn how to re-navigate those through, like re-navigate, make sure the nervous system and the fascial tissue and everything can respond well with each other. So we get rid of muscle imbalances and then also correct imbalances through vitamin mineral deficiencies, and then spiritual, it doesn't have to be like going to church spiritual either. It's just like a lot of
mm,
us we don't do the internal reps. So with just
yeah.
having a balance between the two, and then showcasing and helping create blueprints to help people learn how to save themselves.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people as well, Justin, they struggle defining their own path to figure out what their purpose is. You've clearly carved out a life based on discipline and growth. How can someone begin to find their own purpose when everyone around them seems to have a different vision for their own life?
I would say, learn how to journal, whether it's like nighttime journaling or they have like, oh, let me grab one. I think I have one on my table. I've been using. I think something like a clarity journal is a good idea. Like, so this kind of helps navigate your thoughts if you don't have like purpose. And what it does is it'll give you little prompts like, what are your dreams? What have been your dreams? Where would you like to be? And then for me, I always say, who are the top three archetypes? Like, who you most admire and why? And how can you become your version of that? Like, what are
Mm,
some of that, who's that macro individual you would love to become if you didn't have to work for a living or whatever? Who is that and why? And apparently if it's a little materialistic or something like that, I'd probably help navigate like maybe something a little bit deeper. But then that way, so like say if you have like say for me, say it's Joe Rogan or something like that. He embodies a lot of the core values and things that I would love. A lot of people don't even know their core values. I didn't
mm,
until my 30s, until in the last few years. So I would say find a few people that you admire, say three tops, and then figure out what's in common with those three, what you admire about them, and then create your own avatar and then basically dissect what it is to be that person. And that's the macro goal, and then create micro goals as stepping stones to be able to create that individual. So for discipline, I would say if you have a problem with food, like bad food or bad diet, two things: make sure you're getting electrolytes and you hydrate, and then try to make sure that you eat one less cookie and one more piece of protein, and then slowly and because the whole idea for like going cold turkey on stuff usually is hypothetically it doesn't work for most people, you know.
yeah,
So I would say just cut those goals into a smaller goals and just take it one step at a time. So the 70-30 rule,
yeah.
70% discipline, 30%, and then work up to 80-20 and then 90-10 if you can. But just find some way to give yourself a little bit of discipline and enough to where you're not feeding into your own nonsense.
Yes. And what would you say are some of the steps that someone can embody if they feel like they're not living a life that's authentic or true to their own vision?
I feel like say somebody's bilingual. So if you have two voices in your head. You have your higher self, if you want to call it that, and then you have your pain body or your ego, which you need both. They both are crucial, but like what we need to do is realize that we have multiple voices. So if you have a hard time with making the right choices in life, start trying to really identify what voice is saying what. And then once you can understand who your intuition is or who your higher self, whatever that version of your that voice you want to feed, then you can start feeding that good wolf out of the two wolves, because
Yes.
you have that bad wolf you could feed or the good wolf. So if you can navigate the waters and start thinking back of like, where did I go wrong? What happened? And if you realize that there's one side that you keep listening to and it doesn't always turn out the way it should, then that's probably the wolf that you shouldn't be listening to. And then start learning how to understand that other one again. So the reason I say the bilingual thing, so if you learn two languages, but one of them you don't speak enough, eventually you're going to start needing practice to understand and to speak that language again. So I would say in a lot of cases, a lot of people fall victim to that voice in their head that tells them to take the easy route or to don't go to the gym or don't do this or don't do that, or yell at your kids or whatever that may be. Like there's something there. It's to not to make sure we're not listening to that voice as much, and to be able to navigate listening to the it's like having two friends too. Your friend that wants
Mm,
you to take you out go party, or the one that wants you to go to the gym in the morning. Go hang out with the friend that wants you to go to the gym in the morning.
yeah.
Stop listening to the one that wants to go party.
Yeah. I think it was Andrew Huberman, Justin. He said there's a part of the brain that can become hardened over time by doing difficult things. As hard as sometimes it is to get up super early in the morning to go through a rigorous training workout, or if it's jumping in an ice bath, and
Hmm.
doing difficult things has just such a profound effect, not just on our physical health, but also our mental health. For someone that's just kind of hit rock bottom and they want to pull themselves out of it, what are the steps that you would encourage this person to do?
Um, uh, Number one is stop feeding into your own bullshit and don't be a victim in your own life. Like we all been there. I've been there plenty of times. Like I said, even I had a ketamine I had a ketamine issue like within 2 years. It wasn't all day every day for the remainder of whatever, but there was some times there where it was a little complicated for me. And it's because I wasn't leaning on my I was leaning on the wrong thing, you know. So it can happen. Even with a high discipline, we fall off sometimes. Now, was I still eating organic and hitting the gym and waking up at 6:30 every morning? Yes, because those are non-negotiables. So you have to make the decision to do the thing. Like, so if it's having trouble going to sleep late at night, turn off your electronics. If you have a busy mind, I used to give myself these stories that, oh, I have insomnia. It's no, like you have bad patterns in the evening, and your mind is racing because you're probably on 600 grams of caffeine. You're drinking caffeine after 3 p.m. and you have all this blue light from TV and different things coming into your eyes and your photoreceptors. So, but the
Mm,
easy thing is like have a good create a good morning routine and create a good evening routine. The biggest things you can do if you're in a bad place is learn how to sleep, learn how to move your body and hydrate your body, or hydrate your system with electrolytes and things like that. But to make it easy, I would say give yourself 15-minute, like, so if you need to wake up earlier and it's not for a very set schedule, you want to get up 30 minutes earlier. The first couple days, maybe set it 15 minutes. Set your clock for 15 minutes per week and then set it again for another 15. So then you at least have that grace period. But if you're trying to go all the way to like 5 a.m. or 4:34 or whatever, like Jocko Willink or something, I would just say take those steps to pull yourself back into that. Because like if you have kids or if you ever see kids, you're not going to make them stand up and then sprint to the door. You have to take baby
mm,
steps. And sometimes baby steps is going to be the greatest success for you. Because like I said, cold turkey doesn't always work for everybody. If you want to get in the ice bath, fill up a bowl in your sink and put some ice cubes in there and start with your face. And
mm,
that at least that's something. Or if you can't handle turning your shower to cold and you can't force yourself to do it, there are steps. Will I say just man up and turn the shower to cold? Yeah, that's what I do. But there are some mornings that I don't want to do that, and I didn't know I didn't sleep well. So what I'll do is I'll put my face in cold water so I don't dump my whole nervous system. But I don't
yeah,
know if that's like getting too deep in the weeds there. But yeah, I would just say look at what's hard and do it apparently. And if you can't, cut that into pieces and start doing pieces of it. And then just don't feed yourself that whole, oh, well, it must be nice or whatever that is that like a lot of people do. Like just don't feed yourself that nonsense. Like if you want something bad enough, you will do it. And you got to remind
yeah.
yourself that.
Yeah, I think some of the greatest workouts I've ever had, or because I'm in martial arts as well, Justin,
Hmm.
and the days where I don't feel like going, the days where I don't feel like doing a vigorous training workout, I have the best sessions, and you come out of there and you realize, fuck, I've just done something incredibly difficult that most people wouldn't even get off the couch, and let alone go to a jujitsu class and roll with a black belt, and it's so difficult. But once you're in there and you finished, the feeling that you get is pretty gratifying. And what do you think of Jocko Willick's? Because you mentioned him just before, his quote, "Discipline equals freedom."
Oh, dude, I have like 3 of those shirts. I have the
Yeah.
DEF, like yeah, dude, I love it. It really
Mm,
does. One of the biggest I wouldn't say it's a mistake. Everything happens for the reasons. But it's if you start hanging out with people that are less disciplined, it's so much easier not to be as disciplined. Now, there's a point where you could be so disciplined that it does drive you off a ledge, but that's where you have to have self-awareness to know when you can give yourself the cookie and eat it too, you know? I love Jocko. I think that 435 is great. I don't think that's necessarily for everybody. Like him, David Goggins and some of these people, although they're great archetypes, they're not meant for you to do everything they're doing. They're showing you what's possible. And I think that's the
Mm,
difference is people have this Grand Canyon theory and they make excuses of why they're not that person. And it's like, you're not supposed to be. There's only one David Goggins. There's only one Cameron Haynes. There's only one Jocko Willink, and they're only supposed to be one of them. So like
mm.
they're out there doing their fucking thing because they're the avatar that wants you to get your ass off the couch and stop doing potato chip curls.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think, some entrepreneurs I've heard wake up at 2:45 in the morning and then they start their ritual, they start their day. I heard Mark Wahlberg, the actor, he gets up at 2:45 and he has a whole list of things that he does from prayer to his workout. And I mean, he's got a fucking busy schedule, but that's not for everybody. I mean, if you get up at say
No,
six,
that
sorry,
took
you go.
years. Sorry,
Mm.
that took years for him to build. Like he's giving you what he does now. It's like, okay, but what'd you do when you were an aspiring underwear model or whatever, and for Calvin Klein and these other things? Like, what level of discipline were you at there? And that's what I mean by that
Yeah,
Grand Canyon theory. Is there's just that big, huge gap in between. Like, I'm not going to take my friend's niece to the gym and have her squat 225, but can she
that's
squat
right.
225 in
Yeah,
a couple of years if she wants to? Same thing with
yeah.
jujitsu. Like you have white belts hit the mat, the biggest thing you do is you're probably put them in your guard and tell them to breathe. Like, hey bud,
Mm,
you're surviving, no, you're gonna win this. It's the same concept. It's like, I think people, yeah, they just there's two things: they burn themselves out, or they just they criticize the jockos and these people, and they're like, they just don't see it being obtainable. And it's like, it's not supposed to be obtainable for you. Should you push as hard
yeah,
as you can and try to get to your version of that? Hell yeah. But for me, I've done
yeah.
the 245 thing. There's a guy named Wes Watson. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He kind of fell off.
Uh, yeah,
He
I've
he
seen
had
Wes
he had
Watson. Yeah.
he was really cool early on. Like I think even his early stuff, I'll still listen to it. But once I got into it and I seen the type of person he became, he's kind of a bully, and I just don't support that. But he helped a
Mm,
lot of people out, and no disrespect towards the dude. I don't know, like I don't hang out with him, but just with his like wake up at 4 or 5 hours of sleep, blah blah blah. Most people, that's not sustainable. Like if you can get
nah.
6.5 hours of sleep, get 6.5 hours of sleep. Do you need to do what the Mark Wahlberg does, where you start your morning off with prayer, start your morning off with purpose? Sorry to cut you off, by the way. I want to hear more
No,
about
you're
that,
right.
but like, I think so. For me, this is something I mentioned. It's like with this grind culture, when you grind, you eventually run out of material. And a lot of these
Mhm,
guys and influencers, different people, I talk to them on the back end of things, and they ask me nutrition advice, or they ask me what I do for this, because I am natural. I'll be 37 and my natural levels for testosterone are 1,000. And they were
mm,
500 at some parts of my 20s. Because in my 20s, I was partying and I was like doing cocaine off the back of cars in the ghetto at 2 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't every day, but on the weekends, sometimes I'd be a wild boy. And but that being said, is like I didn't always have this high level of testosterone. Like I still put on muscle and things like that. But the reason I'm saying all this is, then there's a lot of overachievers. I shouldn't say overachievers. There's a lot of high achievers, but the biggest things they have issues with: overconsumption of caffeine, no sleep. They never see their family, and then they develop these patterns that they just don't feel very well. They get angry, and
mm,
like if your goal is to make as much money as possible in 20 years and have a heart attack at 50, then the grind culture is for you. But
yeah,
there's a safer way to go about things to where you could regulate your time a little better.
mm,
If you have 12 hours throughout the day, go for it. But I think the flow culture, developing like a flow state more often, feeding your mitochondria, hydrating properly, getting enough sleep, it's going to be way better for you in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
yeah,
You're less likely to get Alzheimer's and things like that too. But that's just my
yeah,
philosophy on the whole grind culture thing. I think you just got to
yeah,
find what works for you,
yeah.
because
You're
it made
right,
me depressed
Justin.
doing the Wes Watson thing.
Yeah, it's interesting too, Justin. You know, we're in a hyper ambitious world right now. Everyone is working hard. They're trying to get ahead. But it's true that you mentioned that there's a fine line. And a lot of these individuals as well, you mentioned David Goggins and Wes Watson, they're hyper ambitious, but a lot of this stems from unlocked childhood wounds, doesn't it? Like hyper ambitious people um, do have some sort of childhood roadblock that they've had to overcome. What have you come to learn about highly ambitious people and, talking with a lot of these individuals?
Some of the some of the most miserable people I know are billionaires. They have
Wow.
money, they have accolades. Most of their families don't like them, or they
Yeah.
tolerate them because they're in a financial contract with them. So they want the money, they want things, but they don't have, so I see. So working at the Human Garage in California and some other places, some of the most baller people I've ever met have some of the most mental breakdowns, some of the
Mm,
worst addictions. I know escorts. I know friends that have done that in their 20s. Then they tell me stories that that these millionaires and billionaires would just want to sit down with them. They would rent them for the night just to sit down in a hotel room to talk to them because their wife and kids don't talk to them anymore. So
yeah.
I think now, making money is great, but money buys back your freedom. I'm not saying don't make money. One of the main reasons why I struggle with making money for so long in my teens and stuff is because I had a bad relationship with it. You can have a bad spiritual contract with money and not make it. And that's not I don't think you should do that either. I think we're meant to make as much as we can, but at what cost? Like if we're talking about making money for our family and everything, but we never see them, like what is that? Like, then you're living this illusion archetype that you're creating for yourself that it just kind of like it's like this, like the snake that's trying to get its tail. Like it's that whole idea is you're running in circles. But I think that there's now it's more of a bell curve. I think with social media and everything, we have more conscious. So what it is for me to be a man, it isn't just being the fighter or or the grinder or the entrepreneur or the actor or the model or whatever that is that you think it is to be a man or the just being at work all day. I think it has to be a combination of. It's like the warrior in the garden, the martial artist. But a martial artist isn't even just fighting. It's like being able to be the painter and being emotionally intelligent, being emotionally present for your kids and for your family and for your girlfriend and whoever else. Because it's so easy to fall into this tough guy role and then be insecure with your woman and be overly possessive and eat like crap and drink and be an angry person after you have a hangover or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it's having self-awareness and being able to navigate the song you want to play because on the musical
Yeah.
instrument you create.
One of the things that I've come to learn about Justin is the idea of what it means to be a good man. And I really resonate towards Joe Rogan, Jocko Willink, Jordan Peterson. He's a perfect example. He said, you should be capable of violence. And he doesn't mean to use violence, but to be capable of it. And it's that oldest saying, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Having the capacity for violence and then learning how to control it and being able to have those in harmony makes you a good person. And I've been training in martial arts for over 30 years. And I've come to realize that martial arts has been the back burner in everything of my life. It's been able to help me become the person that I am today, but it's made me a better person because of it. Because I understand violence, I know how to look after myself. God forbid if something happens, then I can utilize the tools to protect myself and then protect the people around me. But it's being able to have that as like a tool to add to your repertoire. Working and training in martial arts, what has that taught you about yourself?
I'm never the toughest guy in the room. Those are the wrong
Yeah,
rooms to be in.
yeah,
Pecking orders are real. Um, and at any day, you could be the hammer or the nail. Those are the big ones.
mm,
You
yeah,
have to be in rooms, whether it's business, finance, whatever your hobbies are. You have to have rooms where you're not the best. And I
yeah,
think over the years, but also like it's being able to, like with jujitsu, MMA, things like that, being able to play chess in the center of the tornado. It's being able to even rock climbing, things like that. That's like vertical jujitsu. You know, you're using a lot of the same maneuvers and things like that. I think it's being comfortable with being uncomfortable, but having a logical conversation with yourself if shit hits the fan, you know?
Hmm.
And it's the same thing with like the warrior that goes into the garden for me too. It's like being able to grow the food and raise the livestock that so I don't have to rely on a store. So like, you
Mm.
know, like it's living off the grid. That'll be me in my 40s. Like that's the plan. But getting back to martial arts, I think having a community and having other than, you know, living in America and like having the suck from the government and things like that, you know, but embracing a suck with a community of people that most people maybe will never understand. And always, and like getting past that ego, like you said, there's days you don't want to go. There's days
Mm.
that you get 10 submissions and less than 3 rounds on people that you don't usually or whatever. And then the next day you come back and a white belt submits you, and
Yeah.
then you're like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah, it
You know,
happens.
and
Yeah.
then it does, and it's showing up,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's showing up for the days that you don't want to, and it's navigating things. Like, if you know you have a neck injury or wrist injury, you could let them know and still roll, but then or tap, like, be okay with
Mm.
tapping. Like, there's things where knowing when you're going to the next round, knowing when you can be the hammer or the nail, and, like, just being able to feel the ebbs and flows of the room and your training partners and things like that. I think those are all dynamics that translate well across the eons of our existence.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that when they enter a fight gym, it's just a bunch of ego driven hotheads that are just, you know, gangs, and it's just not that environment. You know, some of the most kindest and most benevolent, down to earth people that I've ever met in my life are trained killers. It really is. It's just such a remarkable environment to be in. And I'm in no position to lecture the public about gun control in America, but the kids that shoot up the schools in America, it's horrible what happens. But it takes a good person to recognize a threat and then, you know, use their training for good. What do you think young boys can learn from joining a fight gym, but then also understanding that being that protector and that provider, you know, what can they learn about that?
So there's a book called Iron John from Robert Bly. It's called Iron John. It's from Robert Bly. He's a psychologist that walks through this story from the 1800s, which talks about the what he implies is missing male initiation for men and children. So I think uh, a good MMA school, because we have these fourth place trophies now with some jujitsu schools across the world that are just giving away participation belts and things like that. And that's one thing. If that's what the gym wants to do, that's whatever. I guess at least they're in there. But I'd say that like it's going to give kids, especially with like wrestling and grappling and stuff, it gives kids grit. Women or girls and boys. There's so many girls doing it now too in the States and across the globe. Like it gives kids a sense of body awareness, and it gives them a sense of initiation. So as they're belting up and they're doing something with their comrades or their friends and their family members see them level up, I think those things are necessary. Things that give you calluses on your hands and feet, and things that put you in compromising positions. With martial arts, with kids and with or just boys and girls, especially with men, because we have this weird archetype of being a provider. I think a lot of, well, maybe not, I don't know. I just know, I think it's
Mm,
hard on both sides. I know girls can be brutal
yeah,
too, but like us as men tend to like think we have to prove ourselves to things. And I think having the MMA background and being able to be confident in hard situations would save a lot of men that time and effort, and then they wouldn't be on as many SSRIs or like these psych meds. And that's where I think a lot of this transgender stuff's coming in. And you know, there's no male, a lot of males are the wrong males in kids lives, so they don't understand who it is to be an actual male. Like even
yeah,
down to like I'm listening to a biography on Tupac right now, and he didn't have a male figure in his life until his 20s, and that was one of the reasons why his demise happened. Like, and he goes from he thinks he has to be this gangster that he never needed to be, and a big part of that's because he thinks he's going through this initiation. So
yeah,
he always has to be, you know. Then kids end up starting to be these they start idolizing these men that aren't who they need to be idolizing. And
Yeah.
you don't have them looking up to Joe Rogans and these things. You have kids getting face tattoos and listening to mumble rappers, and
Mm.
or listening to political propaganda and end up um, turning their back on religion and this, that, and the other, and then they end up shooting up schools and things like that. I think it has to do with neurochemicals and a lack of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad too as well, Justin. I was talking on a earlier podcast about the Lost Boys report. I'll have to send this to you. Young men right now are really struggling. The rate of suicide amongst young men is just astronomical. Men are more likely to be incarcerated in prison. There's a lack of fatherlessness in homes. There's a high rate of crime, especially within young men too. And also, young men are looking for a role model. They're looking for that masculine figure. And this is why so many young men were drawn to Andrew Tate, because they were lost. They needed direction in life. What do you think we can do collectively as a society to try and bring young men back up in their everyday life?
I think if more of us start, apparently if we're training martial arts, we're able to maybe even give it like even just right now, I'm like, man, why don't I start donating more time to some of these single mother, these kids? Because I was one of those troubled kids growing up.
Mm.
Like I almost got kicked out of every single school I was in. I had my stepdad, but but he was always at work, so he wasn't always home. He's not a bad guy by any means. My older brothers and some other males that were in and out of my life were very they were like, I wouldn't even call them anti-heroes. They really showed me what not to be. Not the most emotionally intelligent, would fight at the drop of a dime, drinking, drugs, and partying and cheating on their wives and whatever. There was a lot of that between some of my uncles and some of the people I've seen in and out of prison and jail. And so for me, I guess just being able to become more positive role models in more kids' lives. I think if more men would be more vulnerable on social media or in groups or try to help more kids out there in general, I think that'd be huge. But even men nowadays that are within my age, I'll be 37. I'm not sure. How old are you?
I'm 39.
Oh, 30. You look better than I do. I wasn't guessing that. I thought you were younger than me.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
I need to step my game up. But yeah, so between your age downward past my age, and then into like the 20s or teens, I'd say 20s because it's hard for teens to teach teens. Some of the things I knew or some, and I helped run some programs in California when I was working for the Human Garage. There was like 5 or 6 teens. I'd take them to the gym and kind of help them talk through their problems, like gain their trust over time because they realize I'm just a bro at heart anyway. So I could talk to them on their level and try to make them comfortable. But I think a big thing is like with adults nowadays, we treat kids like kids, but we don't realize that that's not good psychology to not treat them as people. Like if we
Mm.
ask them more questions and ask them like why they feel some like a certain way instead of attacking them and telling them not to feel a certain way, and like not trying to teach kids how to be like the version of us that we were never able to accomplish, rather than letting them become themselves. I think that's a big thing that's missing with mentorship and parenting and these things is like letting kids express who they are and what their fears are, rather than like creating new shame cycles for them because they feel like a lack of the ability to like please us or check those boxes, and then they're worried that we're disappointed in them again.
Yeah. And I've spoken about this too, Justin, on numerous podcasts. I grew up with my action stars, Van Damme, Bruce Lee, Steven Seagal, Schwarzenegger. And yeah, obviously my family runs in bodybuilding and martial arts. But see, the amount of TV or action heroes that I guess are a little bit different to how they were back in the 80s and 90s. It's quite different, isn't it? And then this is also the other reason why men are really confused about what it means to be a man. What do you think it means to be a man this day and age?
What I think it means to be a man in this day and age is, like I said, not being, and I get it. The early 80s, 90s, we have, and into the 70s and 60s, you see men slapping women on TV and all this stuff, and it's supposed to be humorous. Clint Eastwood and all these dudes. And speaking of, like, I mean, I get what it is. There's archetypes of this that we appreciate, but then if you look at like some of these movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we're brainwashed to think that as men we're higher or better than women, and then so I'm single, but I'm still friends with my exes, and like so I think that's huge. Growing from my teens and 20s, I didn't have a good relationship with intimacy. I thought sex was just sex, so I was way more open to random hookups and things like that. And being a fit, decently like attractive man, like it was easy to be a womanizer, growing up.
Yeah.
And so for me, I had to re-navigate what it was and who I wanted, because it's a hypocritical thing to be like, well, I don't want a girl that gets around. But if you're hooking up with people and you're just filling the void because you're not feeling anything, it's just empty lust or whatever you want to call that. So I think what it is to be the best version of a man that I see is somebody that's emotionally intelligent, has self awareness, and can be accountable, can get into disagreements without turning them into arguments, and somebody that doesn't always have to be right, but can be a leader. And if shit hits the fan, they have no problem taking charge and kind of taking that male role, that masculine role, and be like, hey, hey, hey. See, I don't mind cooking. There's been
Yeah.
times where my ex is a paramedic and she'd come home and she's doing EMT and paramedic work, and she was doing I got her into jujitsu. She's doing jujitsu and stuff like that. And I was at home cooking. I had a meal prepping company at the time, but that's okay. Like some people joke around that I'm the housewife or whatever, and I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. I don't mind. I still know where I can hold my hands and where I stand. I could whatever. But I think it's a combination of that, being okay with cooking dinner, not getting so stuck in these like social norms of like, oh, I'm a traditional male, so I believe that women should be at home cooking while males do this, blah 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 blah. If that's what you like, that's cool. But for me, it's being able to play both roles. Like not me
Mm,
being a woman, but me being able to take the masculine or the feminine roles and be okay with it. But also I can build a house if I need to. I have construction background. So being able to build things with your hands, like we are talking about, handle hard situations, protect the family, actually know how to use a firearm, like if you have them legal in your country, or be able to go hunt. But at the same time, like for me, what it is to be a man or is be able to talk in podcasts like this, be vulnerable, give people hugs, but also walk on a stage of 1,000 people and not shit my pants and make excuses on why I can't verbalize uh, like my thoughts and things like that. So for me, it's just
yeah.
being able to face adversity and fear and not let society create who I need to be as a human.
Yeah. One of the things too that I think is a detriment to men is, and I honestly believe being hard all the time will fuck you up as a man.
Oh yeah.
Not being able to expressively and honestly open up. And this is quite difficult because, you mentioned emotional intelligence. This is the hard part where a lot of men grapple with is, and you need a brotherhood, you need men that are actually like minded and understand the masculine experience. But it can be very difficult on how you articulate and get the words out to say, hey, look, I'm going through a bit of a difficult time at the moment. That's the hard part, man. That's really, really difficult as a man, is to how to expressively and openly and honestly express yourself as a man, even maybe shedding a tear. How does a man, do that in a world where they say be open, be vulnerable, but at the same time, when they are vulnerable, they're shamed for it?
Well, if you look at Marcus Aurelius or like Miyoto Musashi or any of these people, there are some hard ass motherfuckers and they lived a different life. But at the same time, they talk about being present, being able to navigate your emotions. So I think I call it mental martial arts, is being able to
Mm,
walk through your feelings, understand what it is to be in fear, anger. A lot of men are angry because they don't know how to express sadness or fear, and that's where I think it comes into play, is like being able to being able to be okay, because there was years like probably from like I don't know like 15 to to almost my 30s where I only cried like twice, you know, and
Yeah.
that's not okay. That's not good. That's another thing that can have men or women or whoever die at an early age gain cancer, things like that, is bottling shit up like that. It's just not healthy. I would say just learning how to be okay with navigating your emotions, like, and experiencing all of them. Like, we're here for a life of experience. With some of the toughest men, and most women won't look down on you on it. Honestly, most women think it's attractive if you can cry, you know? I mean, I'm just
Mm.
saying maybe not whine about everything and be a little, you know, whatever, you know. There's a you have to find a boundary between
That's the hard
uh
one.
yeah, is like crying, you know, like crying to show emotions, but not crying to get sympathy. I think when you
Mm.
cry, because I see there are some people I see post, I've even had to like block stories on my social media from some of my friends because maybe I'm a little bit more on the red side of things there, but like they'll like videotape themselves crying and explain why they're crying. And I'm like,
Mm. Yeah.
I think that's a little bit much sometimes, but I would say yeah, just being more in touch with, being okay, like, or being okay with like, expressing all of you, because if you're not expressing all of you, then you're living a false life, and the people around you don't actually know who you are, and it sounds like you don't know who you are. So, the more vulnerable you can be consciously and then not just be like a victim and hoping for sympathy, um, being able to express yourself fully and dynamically, then you're going to have the right people around you, and then you're going to develop the right friendships, giving off the right energy, and then it's going to get easier and easier over time to be able to express yourself like that. Because I know some hard motherfuckers that I've cried in front of, and all they did was give me a hug because they were like, "Oh shit, dude, I'm sorry," you know,
Yeah.
no one knows. Like most people would rather talk to you at the phone at 2 a.m. than go to your funeral, you know, and that's a
Yeah.
real thing.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. I think there should be a place in time where we can see or witness someone that is considered the pinnacle of masculinity. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Chris Bumstead, C-Bum, right? He
Dude, he's
apparently
killing it.
reportedly cried in his girlfriend's arms. And if you look at him, right, man, he is like the pinnacle of masculinity. He's like the poster boy. He's the muscular. He's a I think he's 6-time Mr. Olympia bodybuilding champion. I can't remember how many times. But if you look at him, man, he's the pinnacle of masculinity. But I know a lot of men really struggle to open up, and especially even to their romantic partner, because, you know, and, you know, there's been many stories of men have opened up to women, and unfortunately it's been later weaponized against them. But where is the fine line on when it is acceptable to cry? Like, can a man cry when his dog dies? Can a man cry the birth of his child? Can a man cry if there's a sad movie? Like, when is the right time? When is it acceptable? That's the hard part, man.
I think it's acceptable when it comes natural and you're not just
Mm.
like, I think some people are like, say, like, if we're talking about like this victim, like what I'm talking about is these shame cycles. So if guys are gaslighting their girls and they're creating like a weird emotion and they know you're gaslighting somebody, or you're like you're being a piece of shit to somebody, and then when they go to leave you start crying and blah blah blah, I think that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But like, say if you're watching something that's touching, or like you're like successful, or you're just at the brink of destruction, you're putting everything you have into a situation like Chris Bumstead, and you don't have anything left. You're at the end of a cycle of competitive, because I used to do competitive bodybuilding. Like I did physique competitions in my 20s. Not on his level, but I understand the struggle. And you've probably done weight cuts with MMA, jiu-jitsu, all these things. They fucking suck, man. Wrestling,
Mm.
they're hard.
Yep.
They're not fun. They put you in it's a spiritual event. So like those type of things, if you're working 40 hours a week, you're taking a second job, you don't feel like a provider, and your marriage isn't the best, and you come home and you're just this tough dude all the time, and you finally break down. It's not because you're drunk or something else, or you do need help and you have a substance problem or something like that, and you're vulnerable and you're expressing yourself, and it's heartfelt, and you're like, I need help and something like that. I think it's okay. Or
Mm.
you're watching a movie, and there is that natural, like, you know, like you see people come home from the military, they're surprised their kid or whatever, and they've been deployed for 18 months, or some, like somebody pays for somebody's surgery and then they get a kidney or like something, we all have those heartstrings that are pulled. I think that's great. But I think the line is when you're doing it for a reason, or you're trying to like, you unload on somebody, then that's when you want to, like, when you cry and you're emotional after you did a bunch of dumb shit, and I I feel like, and it's reoccurring and it's just a constant cycle. Then that's where I think you need to dust yourself off and maybe man up a little bit more and learn how to use your nutsack at a greater advantage to your manhood. But I think being able to cry when movies happen or certain situations and something's cute or touches your heart, I think that's completely healthy. It's the
Yeah.
other side when the tears come because your ego's flared and you know it, and that then you have that whole other thing where you're feeding into that weird pain cycle, and I think
Yeah.
that's a different thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, man. It does. And I can think of some perfect examples. You know, I've seen The Rock. He's cried on camera. I've seen Joe Rogan. He's cried on camera.
Yeah.
Fuck, I even was listening to Andrew Tate when he was talking to Piers Morgan. Um, he reportedly cried in prison when he went to jail. He said there were
Yeah.
tears running down my
So did
face.
Tupac.
Yeah,
Tupac did too
exactly.
when he went to jail. Like, we
Yeah.
have these old that, and even when you look at Andrew Tate when in his recent loss, like he knew,
Mm,
he says, I shouldn't have been in there. I knew it, but I had to prove to myself I was scared, so I went in there. I had to prove to myself that I'd get in there. But he had tears rolling
yeah.
down his face, and that's
Yeah.
I think tapping into that is a good thing. Like being able to
Yeah.
be open with emotions. I think that's real masculinity. Or like even an easy thing, like a lot of men are scared to go dancing because they feel like they're gonna look stupid. If you're not crying
Mm,
because you feel like you're weak and you're gonna look stupid, cry. It's okay. You're gonna be
yeah.
that you're just developing new skills. It's just like being able to throw punches, being able to know
Yeah.
when to navigate and come back from sadness. It's mental martial arts.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more work in this area, because I think as a man, you know, we have a responsibility, especially if we have children. But I do feel that there needs to be a little bit more work because maybe going back to, you know, how women respond when they see men cry, maybe they didn't see their father cry growing up. They didn't have a masculine guidance where they could actually see, you know, that maybe it was acceptable to cry, you know, because
Mhm.
different environments like that can make it seem, you know, and I've heard women say that I saw my man cry once and that was it. It turned me off. So I think there still needs to be a bit of work with that. And if we see more people like Andrew Tate or Joe Rogan, or even I think Jocko Willink, I've seen get a little bit emotional. Do you think there needs to be a little bit more work in that sense?
Um, I would never date one of those girls. Those sound like princesses and not queens. Those are girls that want a man to take care of their whole life, and they
Mm,
live up. They probably had toxic, weird dads or whatever that is. They abusive to mom. They're like abusive to their moms. I almost wonder because I think there's a difference between finding a queen and having a little princess, a girl that wants to be
mm,
taken care of, that wants everything, a provider, blah blah blah. I don't, in my opinion, like have fun. Like if that's where you want, cool, no judgment. But I don't date those kind of women.
yeah,
Those are little girls trapped in adult bodies, and those are the kind of girls that throw temper tantrums and stuff like that when things don't go well. And those are the kind of women that have like they're not very supportive. They're just they're too masculine, which is fine. I train with some of those girls, but yeah, that's a turn off to me. Like that's weird. Like don't get me wrong, like I guess for me I don't like a girl with a ton of makeup anyways. I kind of like a tomboy that'll go climb trees with me or do jujitsu and stuff. I
yeah.
mean, apparently I want somebody that's pretty that doesn't look like Brock Lesnar, but like like, so there is that femininity that I want, but it's I think there's something there that, like, if women are just like, "Oh, I seen my husband cry," I guess it depends when he cries. If it's over something stupid and it is like crying because, like, we're talking about gaslighting or something like that, I think that's different. But I just those type of women to me, I think they have more shadow work to do, and
Yeah,
they're not in touch. They're not in touch with what it is. But I do think that we need more men out there, and I think they're coming around because we're seeing all
yeah,
sides of men now. This big tough guy. bravado that you see of all these like the Andrew Tates and things like that, they get cut down. Like, I mean, I
Mm.
like Andrew Tate. I don't like the way he talks about women all the time. I
Yeah.
respect his hustle and his money. A
His
lot of
message
people
is
send
good.
me Andrew Tate stuff. Yeah, yeah. I think we need people like him because how soft our society's going. But would I want to hang out with that guy every day? Even though I know people that know him and they say he's not always like that on camera. Like he has to ramp it up a little bit for his like it's him, but it's him like he turns the dial up sometimes
Yeah.
for his audience.
Yeah.
But I would say I think we need those type of people, but we also need everyone in between. Like so
Mm.
he's a very what's the word I'm looking for? He's a very he's all the way on the end of the spectrum there. So
Yeah.
like he's a bell curve. Him, Jocko Willink, like there's different people that we need people like that. Like I don't know if you looked into like this guy that got assassinated in the United States, what's his name? Charlie Kirk. I didn't really follow him a ton, but his message was needed. There are people
Yeah.
that need that message. Like now, do I agree with some of the stuff he said? No, I don't agree with some of the stuff I say sometimes later on when I look back at it. So you
Yeah.
know, like we all have room to grow, but I think we need these archetypes. We need these people and individuals that are polarizing. Polarizing is the word I was looking for. So he's all the way on
That's
this side, and he got tired of shit. Same with Andrew Tate and everybody. They're like, I'm tired of this bullshit. I have to turn this. I have to turn this dial up, and I have to go out there and disrespect all these fucking stupid people that disrespect themselves because. If I don't do it, no one's going to. And then we have people in the middle that are like ourselves that have logical conversations and don't have to be all the way on the left or the right side of the spectrum. We could sit in the middle and talk to the people in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm a big proponent of stoicism. Like I agree, there's time and a place to show emotions, but I do think that there is. You know, you mentioned a good point as well, Justin. There's that spectrum as well. Here's where I want the work to be done. Is I want there to be some sort of masculine figure, whether it be The Rock, Joe Rogan, fuck, I don't know, Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger. Show that it's acceptable to be vulnerable and there's a time and a place for that because this is the most confusing part. You know, you have people say, don't ever show your emotions. And I think that's a load of shit because if you keep that bottled up inside of you, eventually you're going to get to breaking point and then it's going to come out in the way that you didn't intend for it to do. You know what I mean? Does that
I
make
think
sense?
I think it has a time and a place. I think weak people shouldn't show all their emotions.
Mm,
Not because they shouldn't show emotion, it's because they're not in control of their emotions.
mm,
I think with social media being what it is now, it's harder for people to navigate because they react instead of absorbing information and having logical conversation. I think if you're reactive, maybe understand how to dial in your emotions and not act
mm,
out of emotion, but be able to like articulate your emotion or
yeah,
physically show it without like but if people only have like mad or sad or like angry or like super like toxic positivity or whatever you want to call that, I think that's different. I think there's less we have less people that have like the flow of all, 150 strings of their emotion rather than just like people drumming on like a trash can lid where you have like boom 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 or whatever, you have like a bongo or like a big drum, a bass drum or whatever. So
yeah,
it's just one
yeah,
sound. So I,
yeah,
I think some people need to learn how to navigate their emotions a little better. There's plenty of people out there that verbalize things out of emotion that they don't necessarily mean. And I think maybe not everybody should say the first thing that comes to mind. I used to be one of those people. I can still be pretty unfiltered, but I've been able to navigate my words, not even just biting my tongue, but listen also and navigate the waters of how I'm going to speak and read the room. And I think some people just can't do that. And maybe I think
yeah,
that but we also I'm not sure about your culture out there, but like the culture here in general is like you're taught to like stand up and talk. And then once you're old enough to do that, they tell you to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down and listen. And then you have to learn this Rockefeller based 9 to 5 school system that's out of date and is honestly toxic for our society. And
Yeah.
so I think with
Yeah.
that, like you're told to sit down and learn how to be a 9 to 5 worker rather than like learning how to speak and create um a renaissance man of sorts that we're
Yeah.
missing in society too. I because there's not, it's usually one or the other. We don't have a lot of men that can draw, paint, dance, and move. Like that's why I think what a real man is somebody like George St. Pierre. You know, like
Mm.
that's over I don't know, I like C-Bum now, but early on, like, if I never listened to C-Bum, a lot of bodybuilders I automatically think are probably not gonna be the most, just from the rule of thumb of who I've met, they're kind of toxic. Some of them are,
Mm.
but not C-Bum. C-Bum's great, Kai Green's great, like, there are a lot of them that are really great, but usually guys that are that big, um, I think a majority of them are probably insecure, and
Yeah.
maybe not pro at that like at that high pro level like that because that takes a different level of fortitude. But just but the same thing, you could see that in fighters, you could see that in whoever else, like construction workers that are like masculinity. But
Mm.
like even with because if you look at like UFC fighters and a lot of other people, I think being able to navigate like somebody like George St. Pierre to me is like peak masculinity. Somebody that's always bettering themselves, always evolving, having stomach issues, changes his diet. It brings other people in that are maybe lesser of athletes than him to teach him things that he doesn't know. He
Yes.
dances, he has fun. He doesn't discriminate against races, against cultures. He'll always sit down and speak to people. But if somebody's blowing smoke up his ass, he'll also tell him, "Hey, shut the fuck up." like,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's part of it too.
Yeah. And the current dating scene is a fucking shit show at the moment,
Oh my
Justin.
gosh. Yeah.
We
No.
we have both men and women retreating from dating. I read a study that I think it was a 2008 study suggested that men between the ages of 18 and 30 hasn't had sex in the last year. There was a study by Morgan Stanley that forecasts 45% of prime working age women between the ages of 25 and 44 will be single and childless by the year 2030. We've also got a declining birth weight. People aren't fucking having enough kids. So we have men and women just drifting further and further apart. And what's happening now is because of the rise of social media, now we're in what we call a globalized sexual marketplace. In other words, people just have access to A-list celebrities. People can just go from one relationship to the next to the next. Dating apps have been absolutely atrocious for men. And also, I think women are finding the apps just aren't really working for them either. What do you think we can do as a society to get men and women back together?
Go out and stop being a fucking pussy or stop being like a ghost. It's this fucking ghost culture. Nah, okay, so like I say that and then that's me being toxic. Um, Toxic. So for me, I don't. I have like one app, and it's through Facebook, the online dating thing. And honestly, I don't have a problem with matches. Like, and that's
Yeah.
not to toot my own horn. I'm very articulate. I'm more in touch with myself. Like, I can navigate conversations, and I actually read bios. I talk to people. I have pictures of my nephew. I'm try to be myself. It's a different thing. And in my 20s, I would have been swiping and whatever and hanging out and making all the excuses of why things didn't go right. But like, it's really easy to put yourself like it's a weird because you're creating these weird archetypes. There's these individuals that you'd probably never talk to in person because everybody's too scared to talk to each other. um, I would say for men, learn how to dance. Go to these dancing classes. Like they have them all over the nation. I'm sure they have them. Are you in New Zealand or
Australia.
Australia? Okay, Australia. Sorry. I thought it was Australia, but I was wrong last time. But when I last time I was talking to somebody, so I guess
Yeah.
I had a little trauma from that.
Yeah.
But no, Australia. That makes sense. And so, like, yeah, you have dance schools and different things out there. I'm sure. I think finding hobbies, apparently, like if it's like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that, you might not find a lot of women there. But try to find some extra curricular activities that you can navigate in the evenings that maybe not are drinking and whatnot. Because I feel like men will go out to drink and they all hang out in groups, but then they never actually talk to the women. They just always joke around, maybe dance. And like honestly, most people, I don't think going to a bar or something like that's gonna be the best place to find women.
Nah.
So I would say try to find more social gatherings where you can practice and think of it as a game. Don't think of it as like not a game as in like you're playing a game with people's hearts, but like go in there and don't be worried about like try to just learn how to not be worried about denial. Like, so if you can
Yeah.
go sit down and just have a conversation with somebody and not like make it really awkward, like if you can, there's books, there's different things where you can learn how to have intelligent conversations with somebody. Like if you can point at something and be like, oh, that's a pretty cool dress, instead of being like, you look great in that dress, like, oh, that's a pretty cool dress. I like how you match that with this or this, that, and the other. And you give somebody a compliment, but that you give them room to like explain themselves on why. Oh, yeah, I got these shoes from my grandma. They were a Christmas gift, blah, 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 blah. Like find ways
Yeah.
to navigate conversations where you don't just have like this intention to get your dick in a wet spot, you know? I think that's
Yes.
a big thing too, is like people don't want to meet people and actually like treat somebody like you want them to be your friend first. Maybe then it won't feel like such a weird barrier because you're not just trying to get in their pants. Like give it a
Mm.
couple weeks. Like become somebody's friend a little bit first. And I know some girls don't like that because they're so eager to find their life partner that it's hard to but I would that's what I've seen is the best is I have girls that I've met on dating apps or in person. I have way more. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't have a problem on dating apps. I have the one, and there's plenty on there. But in person, it's more fun, and you get the vibe of somebody. It's not
Yeah.
like this screen. And then you can actually see if you vibe, and it's a little easier to navigate the waters there. But I would just say learn how to interact with people. And there's so many books, YouTube, whatever it is, like learn how to interact a little bit and use that as a skill too. Like remember, you're a video game character living in this three-dimensional reality. You can gain attributes no matter what your age is, and you could build mana and XP points, and you could become
Mm.
better. You're like, oh, I don't have any game. I suck at talking to girls. Or if it's like 10 girls and something falls apart every time, it's probably not them. It's something to do with you too. Like whether it's, I'm not saying your looks or your style or whatever, but there's something there that maybe the conversations aren't going well, and maybe you can learn how to navigate the conversation or start going to the places for the type of women that you want to meet. Like if
Yeah.
you're an outdoorsy kind of guy, go to a climbing gym. Jujitsu schools, I wouldn't say pick them up there because you don't want to shit where you eat, but it happens.
Mm.
But yeah, I would just say same thing as like building the best version of yourself is look at some of the
Yeah.
attributes and some of the things you like in women. And then other than tits and a vagina and an ass, like that's like actual like attributes that you'd want in a wife or a girlfriend or whatever. And then maybe try to find ways to pick up and don't be such a pleasure monkey and actually treat people like humans.
Yeah. I always say for a lot of young men in their 20s, use your 20s as a training ground to work on yourself and to put yourself out there, learn, and you'll always get a mirror back. You'll always get a reflection of where your inadequacies are. What do you
Hmm.
think of that approach? Is in your early 20s, and say, for example, a man wants to date, but also I think we're starting to realize now that your 20s should also be your climb. It should be your ascend and what you want to try and figure out to do in life. Um, you know, what approach would you give to say a 20-year-old man?
Um, like I said, I'm a big proponent of building attributes to start building skills that are going to make you the man that you admire and you want to become. Like whether it's like learning, like working skills. Like for me, it's big to be. I like the idea of a Renaissance man. So, like I said, try a dance class. If you have female friends too, like maybe talk to them about like what they think they like in men and things like that too, and like navigate conversations. It's good to have female friends to be able to bounce ideas off of. Like maybe don't have
Yeah,
sex with all your friends. Like
that's
don't have
right.
sex with
Yeah,
all of them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like have friends because like I have women even now I can screenshot and send stuff to that I'm like, did I fuck this up? Or like, am I overreading this? And they'll give me their personal opinion and they know me well enough because I've known them for 20 years. So I think
yeah.
it's if you want to be a man that stands out, don't be the same men that are out there. Like if you hang
Mm,
out with a lot of fuck boys and these people that are just out it for sex and this, that, and the other, I promise that's going to be a shallow experience for your life. It'll be fun and it'll be fun to talk about it with the boys, but I would say start building some mental resilience. Maybe don't spend your 20s at the bars. Spend your 20s building skills necessary for your success and you're building something, your attributes for your future. Like
Mm,
have fun, experience the bars and that if that's what you want to do. But honestly, build skills. And the way to set yourself away from the other men and like to set yourself away from like this the game um that like because I feel like with men especially in their 20s it's always like it's always a competition. So to
mm,
put yourself in front of the other men, I would say just like build the skills necessary that you know it's going to take you to the next level, or to get a mentor, get somebody that's a little older, start talking to some other men like ourselves here that can point you in the right direction. If you're hooking doing random hookups and things like this and it makes you feel gross, then that's not for you.
yeah,
You know, stay in at night, start building things that are going to make you feel good, and yeah, pay attention to your circle. Like if your circle is a
yes,
bunch of people that are drinking, smoking, doing whatever, causing a ruckus, but deep down inside, you hear that other wolf we were talking about earlier in the podcast, and your intuition's telling you, "Oh man, I should have went home an hour earlier." Then listen to that voice, build that person.
yeah. I've got one more question for you, Justin.
Do you feel like that answered that one? I could have went deeper and or into a different direction with that one too, but that I just felt like that kind of spoke to the version of man that I was.
Yeah, no, I think there's no roadmap, but there's some things that I wish I knew in my early 20s. I think
Exactly.
for me personally, I wish I'd knuckled down a little bit more in my 20s. I think your 20s should be a time to, yes, have a little bit of fun, do a bit of travel, but also it should be a time to really knuckle down because then you can start to really blossom in your 30s and then your late 40s. And I think
Exactly.
it's that balance too, isn't it? It's that balance. Yes, you need some time, you know, for fun and catch up with friends and fucking oath, you need to travel and do all that sort of stuff too. But I think your 20s should also be a training ground. It should be where you learn, you fail, you grow, then it molds you into the person that you're going to be in your 30s and 40s. And you learn the life lessons and the skills. And I think you need to
Oh,
learn that
dude.
in your 20s, man.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
early that's what I'm saying. That's what we're saying. I'd say like 19, 20, 21. If you have the money and expenses in your early 20s to get some traveling out and go experience the world, do it. And then you
Yeah.
have plenty of time. Just know the time the clock's ticking. Yes, and
Yep.
all of us don't wake up for we don't all of us don't get it tomorrow. But at the same time, don't let time pressure you into only doing things because you think you have to. Also,
Yeah.
be able to navigate and create a world for yourself. Like, so I know where it's probably sounds hypocritical, but like, have fun, but find that discipline that we're talking about right now to be able to find somewhere in the middle. It's always going to be a balancing act, and that bar is going to be set. So being able to get some trips out. That's one thing I wish I would have done in my early 20s is travel the world.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I wish I would have got a little bit more of that. If you have access to that and you could do that, one trip a year at least, go for it. Save up for it, whatever that is. Go get culture, travel the world, do all those things because I think being able to experience more sides of the world is going to make you understand and way more grateful and more of a dynamic individual. But at the same
I agree.
time, find a find a skill necessary or a couple. Find weak points in your life that you think you have weak points, and then same thing as physical fitness or MMA or anything like that. Work on that, and
Mm.
then when you feel like you're getting better at that, then move on to the next step, and then the next step.
Yeah.
So if like
Yeah.
you're a digital creator, if you want to be an influencer, learn how to edit things by yourself. Learn the psychology of where social media and algorithms are going. And
Yes.
then if you want to inspire to be a podcaster, get on podcast, get behind a mic, just try to do the thing and learn from some of the best. We're in the age of technology and we're in the age of endless amounts of coaches and things that are giving out free content everywhere. Now,
That's
as
true.
of right now, you can change your algorithm. You can pick what your algorithm is. So like, but the algorithm's outside too. If you're always waking up hungover and stuff like that, you're curbing your brain from growing. And then as a 21-year-old at the age of 30, if you've spent most of your 20s drinking, you don't have the brain of a 30-year-old. You have the brain of a 24-year-old that isn't developed fully because you spent your weekends drinking every night.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. What do you think the most important things in life are when it comes to finding happiness and fulfillment?
I don't think people should chase feelings. They shouldn't chase the feeling of happiness. To create the individual you need for purpose, it's a step-by-step process. Part of it is overcoming fear, trials and tribulations, and gaining self-awareness of who you want to become. I think at the end of the day, all of us want is a peace of mind. We don't want happiness. We don't want joy necessarily. Those are all byproducts of creating an existence that's worth your time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think happiness is the byproduct of doing the work. You know, I think as you mentioned, emotions are fleeting, and I think happiness definitely is something that a lot of people chase, but I think it's as rigorous as it is going through a hard session and then that feeling that you get afterwards, or it's connecting with nature, or if it's doing jujitsu and then you tap out a black belt, you get that little win. It's progression. And I think I heard Tony Robbins say this. He said the key to happiness is a sense of progress in your mind, your body, your spirituality. You ascend in all areas of your life. Those are the things that make you happy. Getting your body right, getting the type of body that you want. It's achieving goals and knocking off things. And yeah.
Well, it's not only being able to submit a black belt, it's being able to last one more minute with them in the process. It's being
Mm,
able to pass their guard. Like sometimes it's you have that coach that has an impeccable guard. Shout out to
yeah.
Bruno because I still struggle to pass his guard. And I haven't. I can't say I still struggle. I just haven't done
Yeah.
it. He has 10 knees. He has 10 knees. He pops out of everywhere.
Yeah.
And then every time I get a little closer, he's faster and then
Mm.
he turns it up a notch. But um that being said, it's like it's not the destination, it's the whole journey. Your life's a fucking journey.
Yes.
And it's never
Yes.
gonna be greener. It's the water or the grass is never greener. It's always gonna be nourished, or it's always gonna be greenest where you nourish it the most.
Mm.
The grass you take care of, it's gonna be the greenest. It doesn't matter what destination, what plot of land you go to. It's never gonna be greener until you nourish the grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's gonna translate everywhere. But it's the journey. It's a journey. It's every step on the journey. It's being the hero's archetype, taking the Excalibur from the stone, deciding to take on all the trials and tribulations and being an accountable and actually taking on the responsibility necessary to create the discipline. It's through
Yeah.
the tears and the anguish of entrepreneurship or becoming a father or having the struggles of relationships because every day is not beautiful and sunny. You got to be able to sit in the rainy days and appreciate them as they
Yeah.
come to. And that's what the mental gymnastics that happen. So the gymnastics and the flailing emotionally can turn into those mental martial arts we've been talking about. It's like being able to
Y
navigate all waters
yeah.
and just keep going. Like, because if you're not doing it, then your kids aren't going to be able to. Like, and your ancestors did it for you, so why not do it for your grandkids?
Yeah. I agree, man. I 100% agree with you. I think it's about the journey, not the destination. Justin, where can people find you, man, if they wanna book in with you, and what have you got planned for next year, mate?
So next year, our jujitsu school's opening up, should be in January. I'm gonna keep growing my podcast. My podcast is I don't have you on too, brother.
Yeah, I'd love
My
to.
podcast is Justin Our Minds. So my first name Justin Our Minds. My main Instagram is the Elevated Jedi.
Yep.
And then so the Justin Our Minds will be on YouTube. Um, we have it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the major platforms. Let's see. And then JOMFIIIT.com is how you'd be able to book some sessions with me. So it's Jom Fit with three eyes because the third eye sees all. And
Yep.
then I also have Jom Fit for my fitness account as well. But you can reach out to me
Yeah.
anywhere. And when we're talking about darkness too, if any of these people that are listening, your listeners, reach out to one of us. If you don't like DM us, if you ever feel like you're in a dark place, like I said, I don't know you, but I'd much rather get to know you and be able to listen to some of these issues you guys have going on rather than you guys doing anything crazy and check out of this life a little too
Yeah.
early.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's really good advice, and also, yeah, we're connected, and I think this is the beautiful thing. Social media isn't all bad, and I think it's great because this is how you and I've connected. But nah, man, thank you for jumping on, and yeah, I'll chat to you soon, anyways, Justin.
Cool. I'll send you my Instagram and everything too. If you want, we can collab anywhere across the board. And
Yeah,
then,
let's do it.
yeah, just remember, this life isn't meant for men or women to be successful. Honestly, it's meant to be 9 to 5ers. So just try to think outside the box, get outside the matrix, and then try to create more like we're doing here, and then consume less. So that's what I
Yeah,
would like to leave with.
100%, man. No, great advice,
All right,
Justin.
brother.
Awesome, mate.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your time, brother.